Okay, then welcome to Marketing Drupal in the Age of AI Builders and Headless Platforms. My name is Wolfgang Ziegler, or you might know me under my Drupal.org handle Fargo. I'm managing partner and CTO at Tronomics, and some of my past Drupal contributions are like, I don't know, founding Drupal Austria, like I've been one of the co-founders. I worked a lot of Drupal 8 core stuff, like helped introducing the entity API and the type data API in core, which I'm also helping to maintain. I worked a lot on popular Drupal 7 modules at this time, so rules, your entity API, field collection you may have used. And nowadays I'm more working on like some Drupal AI stuff, so I help co-maintaining the module, but also like Lupus decoupled. Which is like a large topic we've been working on also at Tronomics for multiple years. And yeah, I speak occasionally at Drupal events and meetups like this one. So this time I really want to talk a little bit about marketing and how Drupal is doing in general. I think really relates to that question. And the CMS market share, I think generally is changing quite a bit at the moment. I compiled up some statistics here based on the numbers from w3text.com, where you can see that actually quite some systems are losing quite some market share, like Joomla, but also Adobe IEM and Drupal as well. So WordPress is also like losing some market share, like it's like 6% of the web. It's like in absolute numbers, it's actually a lot relatively. It's actually 6% of the relatively of WordPress, like losing and like 4% of the web. But that's of course also like a lot of websites. At the same time, tools like Wix or Webflow are doing very, very well. Yeah, so what does that mean for Drupal? Is Drupal really losing that much market share? So if you take a look at the Drupal usage statistics, actually the numbers are a little bit different. So this is like uh, the record of the last 5 years. So that means like compiled and looked at over the last 3 years, it's losing like 20 to 22% of market share. But this actually compiles what the Drupal.org statistics say, modern Drupal and legacy Drupal, what means Drupal 7. And I think it's actually true that Drupal 7, it's been quite a different system. And if you remove Drupal 7 from the equation and just look at modern Drupal, like Drupal 8 Plus, then you can actually see that Drupal is growing, steadily, slowly growing, but still it's growing. So there's like a little dip at the end. So depending on whether you would count that or not, it would be 13% or 10% growth over the last 3 years. I guess it's more like the 10%, and it's probably some quirks in the data. But still, that's some growth. So it's like the Drupal 7 sites, they are going away, but that also really was a different kind of sites. But Drupal 8 Plus, it's growing. So that's actually brings me like to the thoughts that I think, like for the small sites, it's like really the software as a service tools like Wix and Squarespace, but also like builders like Webflow. They are really taking over and eating a lot of this market, and also like WordPress is facing that. And I think it's also like where the legacy Drupal sites are going to. And as said, the Drupal 8 Plus sites are growing, but still, like if you look at the total market share, the number of sites isn't that huge. It's still less than 1% of the websites of the web. So it's a smaller percentage. And also what's interesting, there's like a lot of talk about headless platforms, in particular a couple of years ago. That was everything are just about headless, but if you look about the statistics, they are not even in there. So that might be because it's actually hard to get statistics about them, like with crawler-based detection. But then also the question was, what I'm wondering, how large is the proportion of the headless market really, right? So I've like thought about this a bit and basically tried it to tackle it from the perspective of looking at how much is the proportion of the JavaScript based sites, because most headless sites then use like React or Vue.js in the front end. And if you look about all the JavaScript libraries used on the web, then it's like actually about, yeah, almost 10% market share of React and Vue sites altogether. So also not that much actually. So jQuery is still really big. And I think of those sites, a lot of systems are using a headless CMS, but also obviously not all of those sites. So they're also like static sites which are using React or Vue.js. And based upon those, you can actually then like have some numbers and percentages of like what would be the top layers of headless CMSs, which are like Contentful, Sanity, Prismic, and Storyblock, dependent on the WebTech survey data. But actually, that's like percentages, and I don't know how much absolute, what's the absolute numbers of the sites really are. So it's a little bit hard to tell. So what about the AI website builders now? So difficult is actually, of course, you can't detect an AI built website with a crawler. So what's the portion of websites that are built with AI nowadays? So there are a lot of tools, AI tools not there. Everyone is talking about it, about the Lovables, V0, Bolted New, Replit, and so on. It's quite easy to create a new site with it. Like you can create a new site with a prompt in a couple of minutes, actually. And also like business-wise, those AI builders are doing very, very well, right? So what does that mean for websites, actually? I looked for some usage, like for some statistics, but I haven't really found anything about the production websites powered by them. But there's like press releases, like which actually is a year ago already, where like Bolted New Netlify released numbers about 1 million websites being built and deployed on Netlify. If you look at Lovable, there were only some stats about like the number of projects being built, which have been like 10 million in like July 2025, already 25 million in December. So that's quite some impressive numbers, but obviously this is not production websites. So this is most notable a lot of prototypes, I think. So how much really valuable sites those are, who knows? No one knows. But I think what's really what we know is that like the tools are actually merging. So there are separate AI builders, but also like all the existing website builders actually they started to adopt AI. So there's AI products for Wix, Webflow, Framer, Squarespace. Basically, every builder really started to adopt it. And also like the headless CMSs, they have their own AI extensions. So there's like Storyblock AI extensions, but also for Contentful and Sanity. So it's really getting into all the products. And I think the challenge for us is like actually that buyers really love those quick results, and to be able to just use the software as a service and to have a ready website up very quick. And also those tools really go viral and everyone is talking about it. So what are the implications for Drupal? So this AI page building thing, I think it's here to stay. It's expected by customers. So with Canvas, there's AI Canvas. So it's also there in Drupal, but it seems it's not really a differentiator anymore because every tool sort of already adds these features. So how does that change our business? So as Dries has put it in the Dries note, I think a good way to approach it is to use the AI stuff to prototype very fast, and then to use Drupal to build systems that last. So you can have also your separate AI prototyping tools, iterate up in the prototypes very quickly, and once you have something which is ready, you can bring it into Drupal. What I think together with AI and a skilled human can be quite efficient and go quite fast. So sounds like actually also a good approach. Well, but still I think it's not everything great because to many the perception of Drupal is still is it's Drupal. So the front end, the developer experience, the editor experience. Many still think it's stuck in 2015. It's an old system. And also, as Dries acknowledged in the Dries note, that many people think Drupal is hard, right? So why would you develop with a system like that? So this is really the argument where like actually the headless CMS vendors came in and really started to win a lot of deals with that arguments in that they say we are the modern systems, we are better with these experiences. So I think with Drupal CMS and CMS 2.0 and 2.1, we really changed that. So Canvas really helps to close the gap, like in terms of editing experience. It's really similar to like what can Storyblock can offer or like other modern experiences. And we have a fast install system. We have it like extensible system with recipes where it's like very easy to have ready to use packages installed and up and running quickly. We have code components for developers, so they can use React or Preact to quickly add some JavaScript and some new components and have a good front-end developer experience. And if you want to go like fully into decoupled rendering, we just very recently released Drupal Decoupled 1.5, which also allows it to Drupal CMS site templates with modern frameworks like Next.js. So on a side note, Lupus Decoupled Drupal. If you don't know it, you can find more about lupusdecoupled.org. And it's basically a stack of allowing you to do decoupled rendering for Drupal without losing all the great features about Drupal. And as mentioned, there is like the new thing that it's also available as Drupal CMS site templates, which basically just does client-side rendering. And there's a Nuxt starter for it, which you can try out. So what do headless CMS products do differently? So when they go into marketing, so basically what they promise is first of the marketer autonomy. So like there's the visual editor, there's like the components in the system, and it's very easy to assemble pages with that. And then they also like really advertise to the front-end developers and to bring like good developer experience, and that way allow for good developer velocity. So they offer like SDKs which allow you to get started very quick and ship things easily. And then, of course, it's all software as a service. So it's zero ops, fully managed. So that's also quite easy to get started and to run from a customer perspective. And then, of course, with everything being focused on APIs, you have the omni-channel delivery. But actually, Drupal CMS 2.0 is ahead in a couple of points if you look at things. For example, multilingual. Drupal has really strong multilingual features just built in. Or a form builder, you install web form module, you have a very powerful module just built in, and this is all free of charge. If you look at the headless CMS vendors, this is all extras you have to pay for or you have to get from a separate service. Like forms usually is not included, so you have to pay a separate service and have people log in at a separate system and everything. Then with AI integration, like Drupal has the AI initiative and supports like many providers. So there's 48 plus AI providers supported at the moment. But on the other hand, like with software as a services, usually the choice is not really there. Often it's just OpenAI, but sometimes they offer the choice, but then for an extra price. So you have to go for the premium or elite tier, and then you get the choice. That's something where we just have a lot of flexibility out of the box, but really brings us actually to the full data sovereignty topic. Of course, that's like a bigger advantage of the open source system that you can just self-host things on your own servers, on some hosting solution like Platform or Upsun. It's your choice, but so you have the flexibility. Then governance is a big topic. Like with headless CMSs, it's all in marketing and advertising. They can do that all, but usually it's all behind a premium tier or plus tier lock. So this is actually where they make the money. And with Drupal, it's just there out of the box. So you have the flexible permissions, content moderations, and everything there. And of course, the zero license and the zero login. So if you get stuck and you need to change something, you can do that. So all good? Well, I think we fixed the product, but we really need to fix the message now. So this is quite good, but when we are not able to fix the public perception about it, it won't help us much. So this is really what we need to work on. So for complex sites, Drupal still is the answers, but I think the missing message is that with Drupal CMS, we also have a turnkey solution that is really easy to adopt for everyone. And it's also like headless capable. So it can also be like a headless CMS for your front-end developers. So they can also have like the developer experience they would like. It's also a little bit hard to get started still. So there are software as a service solutions like the Headless CMS. You sign up, you have one solution to go to, you're really ready very quick. But with Drupal CMS, it's more complicated. So there are a couple of software as a service solutions like Acquia Source or Mospo is one that we run. Flexsite, Pantheon has a Drupal CMS launcher, but that's actually all I've found, and it was really, really hard actually when I looked for them to find them. So when you try to Google like Drupal CMS hosting or starter or software as a service, it's really hard because you also get all the Google results for just Drupal. And this is for people who build the sites on their own on Drupal. But if you want to have the turnkey solution, that's not easy to find actually. So I think some differentiation or maybe a single place where to get started very easily would be really valuable here. And then the third issue, as I mentioned, the front-end dev experience. I think actually there are like two expectations. It's first of the JavaScript tooling, but also to be able to ship without requiring Drupal devs. So like from a front-end developer perspective who is working on JavaScript, I think it would be really important to be able to just use Drupal only from a configuration UI perspective and maybe with an AI coding agent which helps doing all those things. So I think when we would have like an AI-based configuration capability paired with a software as a service, that would be very powerful and could tick that box very nicely. So some MCPs or CLIs for coding agents and some skills, like it's now evolving in the AI best practice project for Drupal, I think would be really valuable to tick that box. Yeah, so for making Drupal CMS rock, I think we need the software as a service solution, the UI and AI configuration approach. So like that you can use an AI or an UI for both, but you don't need a PHP developer for being able to do the regular, the 90% things. The advanced things can still, of course, require developers. That shouldn't be an issue for anyone. Then on the JavaScript frontend, basically that's what developers already know, so that should be good. And we already have the open source governance and the AI agent stuff. So I think if we do some work on the first 3 items, we are actually doing really good. But you might wonder actually, why would we do that? What's in for agencies? Like if you do that, people could just build the websites and self-serve. But I think in the end, like, I mean, a lot of self-serve customers at some point will also hit the ceiling and then will need someone who helps them. Then also enterprises, they always need vendors to support them. And on top of all this development, of course, there's still the possibility for doing work in the basically higher up the tier, like a strategy work, architecture, or some advanced configuration, like in AI stuff. So basically, we can also, from an agency perspective, go more from like selling production, from selling development to selling expertise and judgment. So I think the homework that we need to do, I mentioned it, have an easy to go software as a service. So I think it would be amazing if we would have more options there to get started easily. Then to have like an easy tooling, but also then really speak about those things. Speak outside of your bubble about it. For example, I recently had a talk at the Vue.js meetup in Vienna, and it was really, really great to have some good feedback and getting the message to some people about Drupal actually renewing and having all those new features. Then write case studies about it, do demos. There's actually this Drupal Growth initiative launched by the Drupal Association now. Join that, help marketing these things. So we need to market Drupal that way. I think it's also a marketer-friendly CMS, and it's like headless capable, and it can be AI native. next to all those things that we already marketed it. So it can be that enterprise system, but it can also be that turnkey solution. And I think that's really the message that we need to get across. Some pointers. I'm also doing a buff on the decoupled frontends for Drupal CMS. So if you're more interested in the technical side of things or how that works specifically, you're welcome to join me tomorrow at 16:40 in room 5. And for the Drupal Growth Initiative, I would suggest to reach out to Ryan from the Drupal Association. Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Yep.
Hi. Are you using a JSON API or a GraphQL at the backend?
So for Lupus decoupled, it's actually a separate API which is turning the pages into a tree of components served as JSON. So this is called what we call custom elements API, and it's that way you can see it as JSON, but it's really separate API. You of course can use that API together with JSON API or GraphQL, but this is like what makes it work just very easily with all the existing things like Drupal routing paths and all those things. It just can make use of a lot of things and capabilities of Drupal that way.
And can it be integrated inside Drupal in the front of Drupal, or it's totally decoupled? And
so it's the way we usually do it is that we totally decouple the rendering. But of course, you could also have some widgets which just do part of that. And actually, if you just use the custom elements module on its own, you can also use it that way, that it just basically turns part of the site in a tree of custom elements and serialize it in JSON and render it. So you can do that. But the Lupus decoupled stack actually is about decouple the whole stack. So if you only want to do parts, maybe also the canvas code components would be a good solution. But then I think it would also be interesting actually to be able to couple that together so that you can have the canvas code components, start maybe decoupling components, and then later on, if you would like to, you decouple the whole experience. And the way it works actually with the Drupal CMS site templates is that it is able to ship JavaScript-based themes. So like there's a Vue.js, a Nuxt starter theme now, which does just client-side rendering. So it's a theme which basically replaces the Drupal frontend with a Nuxt frontend. It will then talk to Drupal via the API and just work like that. And if you want to have full server-side rendering, you can just switch on like a Nuxt server and use that instead very easily. But more on that in the buff tomorrow, I guess.
I have a marketing question, since this is a marketing talk. So it's interesting that you're saying that we should promote Drupal more as an easy-to-use system, because I talked to Yorgos from eCPI, one of the lead organizers here, and he's concerned with the opposite.
Okay.
Is that we have too much focus on Drupal CMS as an easy-to-use system, and that hinders the sales to enterprise. I also went to Jamie's talk, and he presented this Drupal.org mockup that basically presents Drupal is the best for agents. So we can try to promote Drupal is the best for AI agents. We can try to promote Drupal is the best for simple sites. Drupal is the best for enterprise sites. And I also talked to the DA, and what they say is it's very hard to put together the Drupal.org front page, because everybody comes with, we should have community on the front page. We should have AI on the front page. We should have CMS is easy on the front page. We should have enterprise case studies on the front page.
Yeah.
So how do you suggest that we can reconcile that Drupal is good for everything?
Actually,
how can we bring that down to a simple message?
I actually like to see Drupal as a platform for all those things. So there's like the way to go with the turnkey solution, and there's also like it's a platform to build your own complex solution. So it's, I think, really the power of Drupal is the flexibility that it can do both, right? And that way, I think it can be an interesting product to many. I think we are actually quite good with pointing out that we are good in the enterprise. I think we are not that good for pointing out that Drupal can also be simple. So this is why I think we need to do some work there. But I agree, definitely we need to watch out that we are not basically damaging the enterprise part. So we need to make up a way so we have the marketing and the room for everyone. So yeah, it's a good question, but I think putting it like that, we emphasize like Drupal is the platform to build all those solutions is actually a really good way which could benefit all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe it's related, but so working on a message, and a message is for someone. So maybe it's that question. There is many who. Is that front-end developers? Is that deciders? So who? I think the way to solve it is that identifying the main target and go for it. And who would be the first target of the message?
It's a good question. I guess from marketing, we probably should address multiple target audiences and build up the right content for each of the target audience, right? I think it's important to address the marketers and technical decision makers, but I think it's also important to address like developers and front-end developers, not because they are like the one making the decisions, but I think it's also like because like the community of developers is also making up the general perception of like this is a good system to work with, or this is easy to work with, this is a system I can be working efficiently with. And this is, I think, also of course like what management listens to when making decisions as well. So yeah, I guess it needs multiple directions.
So in another subject, like talking outside the bubble, and so you did a talk. So you presented, I assume, Lupus to Vue developers.
Yeah.
And so that's one of a good way to present Drupal. The question is, did they see Drupal, that it was Drupal, or did they see the product Lupus? So how did they transfer this? Oh, that looks nice. To
Actually, when I made this talk, I ended up with a talk which was mostly about Drupal CMS, and of course there was a little bit about then Lupus decoupled and then how it works together, and then showcasing how you can work with it. But I think it's actually that Drupal CMS and Canvas is there, and this is the new thing, is really the main message that we need to get out so that people really know about it, because a lot of people have heard about Drupal, but it's most often they have just heard something like it's a powerful system, but it's hard to work with, and it's not something they would try something out to just try to get started with. And I think this is really like for developers in particular, something that where we need to work on, like when we as a community want to get new people in our community.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.